Hi, so today we are going to review AP1. So everything that you need to know from that one semester in one lecture. So hold on tight and enjoy the ride. Hopefully it's going to go rather quickly and this is going to be a big review for you. So let's just review those functions of human life. Remember that we have to be organized. So our body systems are organized. We have different, we have the urinary system, the digestive system, the endocrine system. Each system is organized specifically. We have different cells that organize themselves as well as different types of tissues. Make sure that you go back and review all those different types of tissues that you learned back in AP1. We have to have metabolism, right? Metabolism is the sum of catabolism and anabolism, all of those mechanisms. So catabolism is, remember, cats like to break things, so we're breaking down molecules, and by breaking them down, we're releasing out that stored energy. Anabolism, on the other hand, Anna likes to build things up, and so when we build things up, we store energy into those bonds. We have to have responsiveness. So we have both positive feedback and negative feedback. Positive feedback, the mechanisms that we really talk about for positive feedback are going to be breastfeeding or lactation, the labor and contractions, and blood clotting. So those are going to be our positive feedback mechanisms. And then we have the negative feedback. And in negative feedback responses, we're going to turn off the mechanism as soon as we've reached that set point, sort of like a thermostat on a house or just a thermostat in your body, right? When you get hot, you start sweating. When you're no longer hot, you stop sweating. So once we sort of get back to that set point, then we're going to turn off the mechanism. Movement, we have to be able to not only move our body themselves, like through our muscles, but our cells themselves are able to move through the body. Red blood cells, white blood cells, etc. They're going to be traveling through the circulatory system. Organs are also going to be able to move throughout our body, in that they're not traveling through our body, but that they're able to move things through them. So the blood can pump through the heart, right? So the heart is going to contract. We also have peristalsis in our digestive tract so that we can move food down through our digestive tract. We have to be able to develop and differentiate. So our cells, remember, they differentiate, so they become more specialized with time and with reproduction. So we start with these sort of totipotent stem cells, and they're going to gradually start to differentiate into their specific types of cells that we need them to be. We have to be able to grow, so not only do we increase the number of cells, but we also can increase the amount of non-cellular material, the interstitial fluid, for instance, as well as our cell size. And then we have to be able to reproduce. So not only do we have to reproduce through meiosis, meaning that that's how we're gonna get our sex gametes, but we also have to be able to reproduce our somatic or our body cells through mitosis. Right? So this is our atom to atom. So remember, we go from an atom, have an atom of, let's say, hydrogen, and we can combine those hydrogen atoms along with an atom of oxygen, and we're going to form a molecule of water. We can then combine them together, a bunch of them, we get a macromolecule. This could be like a carbohydrate of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. We can then combine a whole bunch of macromolecules together to get a specialized organelle. Lots of different organelles are going to form cells. Lots of different types of cells are going to form a tissue. Lots of different types of tissues are going to form an organ. Lots of different organs are going to form organ systems, and then lots of organ systems are then going to form our organism, who we've named atom. So atom to atom. So just remember that this is our periodic table of elements, and so we have a symbol on them, and that symbol is usually a letter or two or three, and that's going to tell us which molecule or which element it is going to be. So hydrogen is atomic number 1, and that tells us that each hydrogen atom has 1 proton, 1 neutron, and probably 1 electron if it is a neutral atom. Through these, we can also get ions. Remember, an ion is going to have a charge to it. So we might go to chlorine, for instance, and we can get a chloride ion. And when we do that, that means that we're going to see that Cl with a negative sign at the top of it. That's going to tell us that it has an extra electron, because remember, we have protons, neutrons, and electrons. Protons have positive charge, neutrons don't have any charge, and electrons have a negative charge. Okay? These are the 4 elements that are going to make up our body. Most of our body, 96.2% of our body weight, is made out of CHON, carbon for C, hydrogen for H, oxygen for O, and nitrogen for N. We also have calcium, phosphorus, potassium, sodium, chlorine, magnesium, and sulfur. This is what are those particular elements really doing for us. So here's that oxygen. Okay? It's a major component of our organic. Remember, we have organic and inorganic molecules. Organic molecules are going to contain carbon. Inorganic do not contain carbon. We can have it as a gas. It's needed for the production of cellular energy like ATP. We also have carbon. That's the primary component of all of our organic molecules. So carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. And then hydrogen is a component of all of those organic molecules as well. We have it as an ion, so it can just be a proton, meaning that it has donated out its electron and then it just has that positive charge, and it can influence the pH of our body fluids. And then nitrogen is a component of proteins and nucleic acids, which are our genetic material. We have calcium. Remember, calcium is found as a salt in our bones and our teeth. It helps to harden our bones for us. We also know that calcium is required for muscle contractions. Remember, we talked a lot about action potentials and muscle contractions, as well as the conduction of nerve impulses and blood clotting with calcium. We have phosphorus. Phosphorus is also part of bones and teeth as far as the calcium phosphate salts, helps us to keep the hardness to our bones. It's present within our nucleic acids and is part of our ATP. We have our potassium ion, which is K+. Remember, we see that in our action potentials, so it's necessary for the conduction of nerve impulses and muscle contractions. And then we have sulfur, and sulfur is a component of our proteins, particularly for muscles. So when we look at our chemistry, remember we have inorganic and organic. One second.